If you're a real estate broker and you own an independent brokerage or you own a franchise brokerage and your goal is to scale through people and not have to sell houses again, then follow along with me for a couple minutes while I go down memory lane and we talk about the last 30 or 40 years of real estate and how that could be your crystal ball. So in 1971, Century 21 was founded and became the largest real estate brokerage in the world. Their target audience was independent brokerages, and they wanted to offer consistency, education, training. They grew rapidly to over 100,000 agents through the 70s, 80s, and 90s. And in 1973, Remax was founded. And Dave Liniger, his goal was to attract the entrepreneurial agents that didn't want to be on a 50-50 split or a 60-40 split, that they wanted to run their own businesses. So he came out with a monthly fee where you paid your share of the office expenses, and then you took home either 95 or 100% of the commission. Initially, when they started, they got a lot of backlash because it was so non-traditional. But they grew through that stage, and they quickly became the #1 brokerage in the world by about 1990, and then up until about 2000. Well, in 1983, Keller Williams came along. Gary Keller's main focus was Remax because the problem at Remax was that you had to pay a monthly fee during the good months and the bad months. It averaged about $18,000 a year. Gary Keller decided to make a cap. Rather than have a monthly fee, he would make it an annual cap of $18,000, and you would pay that in the form of a commission split. So generally speaking, it would be about a 70-30 split. And once that 30% added up to $18,000 for the company, you'd be on 100%. Then he also took the franchise fee. Century 21's was between 6 and 8%. Remax was about 5%. Gary Keller, he made Keller Williams a flat $3,000. You'd also pay a commission split to chip away at the $3,000. And once you paid through that, the 18 and 3 generally, depending on where you are in the country, then you would end up being on 100% for the rest of the year. He also took it one step further. He created larger offices. Most real estate offices up to that point, and even today, were on every corners. You'd have a brokerage, either an independent regional brokerage or a franchise with multi-offices, and you'd have offices in every town. Well, that was very costly. So Gary Keller's idea was to have these large market centers that would hold maybe 300 to 400 agents potentially. They would condense services and lower overhead, and then they would offer the real estate agents profit share if they helped grow the company. He had the cap, and then he had the profit sharing. And that was very damaging to Remax and Century 21 and the other traditional brokerages over time. So because Gary Keller offered these two unique opportunities for entrepreneurial real estate agents, Keller Williams grew on to be the largest real estate brokerage in the world. Well, what Gary Keller didn't realize was that the evolution hadn't stopped. Let's switch quickly to title companies. Well, back in the day, they'd come to your real estate office, they'd offer donuts, they'd pay for parties. They leased a fax machine to my old Century 21 office that I was at in the 80s. They'd pay for your car payment sometimes. They would offer things in order to get agents to send them business. Somebody got a bright idea, one company, and it happened in the early 2000s, to start offering agents joint ventures where they could buy shares in a title company. And the whole idea was they would sell off 49% of the title company. The title company owner would retain 51%, but then they could retain real estate agents who would get quarterly dividend checks. So that would keep them sending business and it would keep them from straying and cheating. If you fast forward to now, there's not very many traditional title companies. Most of them, at least in Ohio and many states, are joint ventures where they partner with the real estate agents, and most of their customers are customer owners. They get quarterly dividend checks. So now what's happening with these cloud-based real estate companies, such as EXP, Real, and LPT is another one that's coming along. They are publicly traded cloud-based brokerages, and they offer the agents ownership, just like the title companies. So in 2023, EXP has been growing very rapidly. They're going to be probably the #1 brokerage within the next 3, maybe 4 years at the max. But they're following the trend of the title companies, because what's happening at the franchise brokerages is, and we're seeing it across the country, especially with Keller Williams and Remax. Remax has been lowering their annual fee to their agents for years to compete with Keller Williams. Keller Williams in our market has been lowering their annual caps to $15,000 from $18,000 in many cases. And we're seeing that happen all over the country. The problem is once you start that, then where do you end? It's a race to zero. So you end up having a market center in another territory. They'll lower their cap to $14,000. So if they're allowed to lower it, then where does it stop? Does it go to zero? Brokerages have to make money. So we're on this path right now where there's a lot of solo agents and teams that are acting as their own brokerages. They provide their own resources, they provide their own advertising and marketing, they have their own team brands, and they're wanting to keep the lion's share of the money for themselves and for their team agents because they're having to pay out their team agents. And now we're starting to see disruptive competition within the teams. So it started off where the team agents would get 50-50, then 60-40, then 70-30. Now some teams are paying 80 or 85% to their team agents, and they're shouldering all of the costs for the team. In turn, the agents are wanting to take more money from the brokerages, and it's just becoming very destructive. So over the next 5 years, if you own a brokerage, either a franchise or if you own an independent, you really need to take a look at this because if in 2023, Keller Williams franchises are lowering their caps in order to compete to retain agents, they're restructuring their profit sharing because it's not competitive anymore, then what's going to happen over the next 5 to 10 years? So you need to position yourself because if you have an independent brokerage, well then you're probably already seeing the pressure from companies like Remax and Keller Williams that whenever you get an agent that evolves to be a high-producing agent, you're losing them or they're coming back and they're asking you for a cap that would be competitive with one of those two companies, $18,000 or so, and it's not worth it for most independent brokerages to do that. Well, if you have a franchise brokerage and the trend is you're having to lower your cap to the agents, which is going to reduce or eliminate profit, then what are you going to do in the future? These cloud-based companies like EXP and Real specifically, those are the two big ones, but then there's others that are following in their footsteps. What they're doing, they're keeping the agent's eye off of the commission split by offering them stock ownership so the agents can build wealth by selling more homes or recruiting agents to the company so they get stock awards that can end up being 6 figures over a few years or more than that. But then they're also offering them revenue share. And this is becoming the new trend, just like the title companies. The companies are buying agents by giving them ownership in the brokerages, and then they're sharing revenue just like you would receive if you were a broker when they start bringing agents in. And that really increases the retention rate of these agents. So these agents aren't hammering on the 80-20 commission split and the $16,000 cap at a company like EXP, because if they want to make more money, they can build stock by selling more homes or recruiting agents, or they can build a residual income on the side that can sometimes supersede their commission income so that they don't have to sell houses forever. This way they can give their team agents a higher cap and they can be more competitive. Really, we need to be thinking of these trends as broker owners. We had our own brokerage for 21 years. We moved over to eXp Realty specifically because of what I'm talking to you right here. So if you'd like to see how eXp Realty could end up improving your future, and you can retain your brand, you can retain your rules, you can retain the culture that you have in your brokerage, but you can hand off the liability, the cost, and a lot of the other things associated with your own brokerage by partnering with a company like eXp Realty. If you'd like more information on this, reach out to us.